Man, Aronofsky has really outdone himself. I mean, I love Wrestler and Black Swan, but Mother, I think, is probably some of his finest work. I love that movie so much. It's such a wonderful film. It's funny and uncomfortable and anxious. It's such a great movie. One of the finest films to come out this year, by far. I mean, I could go at great lengths talking about that movie. So speaking of really good movies, I really liked the first Kingsman. The first Kingsman, I wasn't really that excited for at first when it was starting to come out and you saw the previews, and I was skeptical. But then going in and seeing it, I was so shocked and surprised by how much I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It's such a good movie. It's really fun and entertaining. It's a great love letter to Roger Moore Bond films. It's really good. I'm not so hesitant about the idea for a sequel, especially since the same people that made the first one were making the second one. I mean, sure, I was a little sketchy about some of the trailers, but I had some faith and confidence in the filmmakers that they would end up making something at least good. So, I saw Kingsman, The Golden Circle, the follow-up to the first one, and I thought it sucked.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain, my friend.
So, in a sequel, it's about most of the Kingsmen have been taken out, except for a few. And they were taken out by this 50s obsessed woman named Poppy, played by Julia Moore, who is located at a secret base in Cambodia, where her secret base is constructions of old 50s era buildings, where she has robot dogs and minions. The sequel was a different kind of surprise. The idea that I had for what the first Kingsman was going to turn out to be, like how bad it was going to be, was exactly how the sequel turned out. The sequel was exactly the way that I envisioned the first movie turning out and be. It's a classic example of horrible, raging sequelitis, like that I've seen in recent memory. Constant callbacks and loops and switches and additions that don't even fit, and making things bigger and better when it's not, and it all falls flat on its boring and annoying face. So things happen, and then no one takes it seriously, and no one goes through any changes, and it's overtly stylized to its detriment, and it's over the top in a bad way. And it's overstuffed and horribly paced. I mean, the movie is 2.5 hours. And it didn't need to be. I mean, the first one was stylized and it had over-the-top moments. But it was consistent, and it was never obnoxious and bloated. It's in service to the film and works. Characters went through changes. I mean, Eggsy had an arc. The situation in that film is taken very seriously. The changes they make in this sequel make very little sense to me. Like why Eggsy would be in a relationship with the Swedish princess after they had that one run-in that led to action, when in the first movie he had far more development with Roxy, is beyond me. Okay, so in order for me to go into some of these changes, it's going to spoil some things in the second movie. So just be warned if you don't want to hear these spoilers. The movie sucks. I don't recommend watching it. It might even ruin the first one for you just because of how bad the second one is. So just be forewarned, there will be spoilers. Okay, why would you kill Roxy? Why would you just waste her like that? She was badass. You could have done a lot with her in the sequel and developed her even further. But nope. Let's just kill her off, and it was a terrible death scene too. Okay, so why would you bring Harry back? I mean, I know he was one of the best parts of the first movie, but bringing him back in the sequel just diminishes the effect and blow of his death in that first movie. You're taking away something that was really effective in that first movie and giving a horrible excuse for why he would come back in this. And then you give him nothing to do! He literally does nothing! He has no big moment or thing or anything. He literally does nothing in this sequel. Why would you bring him back? Why would you give him this horrible excuse for, to just bring him back? So you could diminish the idea of death in the movie? It's just fake drama and filler. That's why you would bring Harry back. That is the only reason you would bring Harry back. And this movie is in no short supply of fake drama and filler. Let me tell you, for a 2.5-hour movie. So why would you bring Charlie back and give a horrible explanation of why he would be back even though he should be dead? I mean, he does one thing at the beginning, and then he does really nothing throughout the rest of the movie until around the end he has a sequence. He's not really even much to do in the sequel. Why would you have Channing Tatum and Halle Berry and Jeff Bridges all over the ads when they literally do nothing? Why even introduce a statesman when literally only one of them has things to do? And the Pedro Pascal character, whoa, I was so shocked. I didn't think the minute that I saw him come on screen that he was going to be a bad guy. Oh no! Channing Tatum literally has one fight, and it's with Eggsy, and then for most of the movie, he's asleep. Halle Berry literally sits in a chair, and then she gets up once. Jeff Bridges literally sits in a chair for 5 minutes of screen time and does nothing. Why even introduce the statesman when you give them nothing to do? So what's with the vagina nano-tracker scene? Why would you take the seduction thing and the nano-tracker thing from the first one and make it stupid and complicated in this? Why? Because crude humor. Crude humor and filler. That's about it. So why would you redo the manners make man sequence in this movie with Harry, but then make it terrible and have just an embarrassing moment for Harry? Why would you redo that sequence? I remember the first one. I remember how good it was. I could just be watching that movie. Why was Poppy's plan to poison drugs to make people breakdance and die just to stop the drug war? Why was that her plan exactly? And why did she have interest in this in any way? See, Valentine in the first movie was a fun and a hilarious megalomaniacal Bond villain whose plan, I understood the plan. I understood why he was conducting the plan. I understood his motivation for the plan. I understood how other people can understand why he's doing this. I understood why he was doing this. I understand what Valentine in the first movie was doing. And Valentine was a fun character. But Poppy in this is such a flat and boring villain. And I don't understand why she thinks this plan is going to work, or why she's even interested in doing this plan in the first place, except to just write a quirky character that happens to be obsessed with 50s stuff. Even though she's got Elton John for some reason, and jeez, Elton John in this. You want to talk about annoying? What's with the politics in the second movie that they just keep shoving down your throat, the Trump-Clinton stuff that's overt and obvious and really could have been taken out? It's not clever or funny in any way, and it's just really stupid and repulsive. This film sucked. It was annoying and boring and too long and overstuffed and over-stylized and over the top. It sucks. I have very little interest in a follow-up, and I'm just gonna stick with the first one and forget this ever existed. I do not recommend this movie at all. It sucked. is terrible. I have no enjoyment out of it. I was just sad and got a headache, and I wanted to go to sleep. Oh my God. I just got a friend request. Wanna have some fun? Sure. Contact me at Gimme Your Bang Long Horse Cup.
Who's that? A girl in my class.
0 friends. Super weird.
So I've seen Friend Request. It's a movie that's already been out for a year, but I've now finally seen it. And it's amazing. It's one of the absolute worst films I've ever seen, but it's also one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And it's right up there with Bye Bye Man and Wish Upon. It's that good. Friend Request is baffling and bizarre, and it's awful, and it's also brilliant. The writing is atrocious, the scares are laughable, the characters are cardboard, and it's consistently funny. It's a film that's kind of hard to explain, and it's a film that must be experienced. The worst cops ever, the gay chubby dude who's obsessed with chocolate, whose girlfriend is obsessed with him, the heavy makeup, the bees, the doughy dead kids who can clearly not see out of their garbage prosthetics, so they either walk in a straight line for one scene or stand there. The goofy death scenes, where the facial expressions in some of the death scenes are laughable, and the most unrealistic, creepy loner witch kid ever. Seriously, if this loner kid was realistic, they'd be uploading terrible anime drawings and going on about how they have a magic book of spells and they can perform magic, and being a witch and having magical powers is nifty and is the bee's knees. So everyone is a horrible person who clamor to social networking and friends lists and social interaction, and they clamor to this certain norm and popularity, and it's very vain and like egotistical. The loner kid is an attention seeker to the point of harassment and really has no redeemable qualities, but we expect to like sympathize with that character when everyone is just terrible. The characters, all of them, are just incompetent and dopey buffoons. It's a terrible film, terrible movie, but it's also one of the greatest movies ever made. It's a must-see film-going experience. I highly recommend it. I mean, it's a terrible movie, but I highly recommend it. It's amazing. You're gonna get a lot of laughs. It's a great movie. So I guess after seeing those two things, I guess I'll just see how Jeepers Creepers 3 turns out.